Hello, my name is Chris Jackson, your session moderator for today from Yellow and your host for today's program. This session focuses on how to be successful searching for your first job in the marketing, business, advertising, and sales industry. Today, we have 4 experts with us from top quality institutions to talk to you through where you should start your own personal journey through the job search. Joining us today are Kalina Popova at Dell, Madison Amati at Experian, Jennifer Voss at Visa, and Tangela Woodley at L'Oreal. Thank you all for joining us today, and thank you to our attendees as well. We are excited to be a part of this journey with you. Let's get started by going over a brief overview of these jobs at your organizations. How about we start with Kalina discussing the sales structure at Dell? Kalina?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So talking a little bit more of the value that Dell is able to bring, we are a one-stop shop, or otherwise called an end-to-end solutions provider, which means we provide a lot of value to companies all across the world, regardless of their industry or size, and making sure we can fulfill all of their technology needs. So in terms of approach, we do have a relationship selling structure, which means that each customer gets a dedicated account team. And since our product portfolio is so vast, each person does specialize in something different amongst our business, right? So if we're working on a project strictly with client, which means our customer laptops, desktops, monitors, peripherals, it doesn't quite make sense to plug in our data center specialists, right? So the idea is to make sure all of these resources are available to them and plugging in the people that make the process most effective. And last, talking a little bit more about our sales structure, we do have our sales development programs for our recent college graduates and then early in career changes, which allows us to really build that foundation on the back end. We are not expecting people to come in and know completely our portfolio or how we manage the sales process, which is why we create these diversified programs and making sure that we can really build that foundation and build a career long-term here at Dell.
Thank you, Kalina. Jennifer, are you able to give us an overview of Visa's business administration structure and jobs?
Yes, happy to do so. So hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today. As Chris mentioned, my name is Jennifer, and I lead our early careers sourcing efforts here at Visa. So a little bit of background around Visa. We are, as I think a lot of you recognize the name and probably have a credit card in your wallet with a Visa name on it. We often get, have a big kind of misunderstanding about what Visa's product is and what we typically produce. Myself included, when I was going through the recruiting process, I thought Visa is a credit card company that considers a lot of financial, students with finance backgrounds, et cetera, business backgrounds, which is somewhat the case, but also kind of a little bit misleading as well. So Visa is not a credit card company. It's actually a technology company. So at the forefront of finance and technology and where those intersect, we're really leading the efforts and industry around fintech technology. So if you think about what Visa does, is we facilitate transactions between merchants, vendors, you as a client, and also banks as well. So really ensuring that each transaction that is processed through the 4-party system, as we call it, is done securely, safely, and quickly. So as you can imagine, we hire a lot of technology students and those with a technology background. So I really share that in a sense before kind of diving into our other functions, business functions, sales, client services, et cetera, because it really helps to define and understand where those roles intersect. So everything that we do in the what we call non-technical space is technology adjacent, excuse me. And so a lot of the roles that we consider and have with a business background, sales background, are within supporting the technology and supporting the business around the clients that we have, the sales and technologies that we produce and share, and then also any other corporate related functions. So hopefully that helps explain a little bit more about Visa's background and our corporate functions.
Thank you for that information, Jennifer, and clearing those misconceptions. Next, can we have Madison give us a quick overview of Experian advertising and MBA rotational program and jobs?
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Madison. I work at Experian. You may know us as the credit score company. That is part of what we do. That's the most recognized. But we have several different business units that help our consumers and our businesses make better decisions. So that's in data analytics, marketing services, consumer services, and with our 7 different business units and being a global company, advertising really plays an important role in global awareness. The advertising team, their goal is to create content and looking for ways to promote brand awareness. This could be for product launches, working with teams at conferences and trade shows. And this support comes in 2 different ways here at Experian. We have creative teams that help develop these content materials, which are like product marketing materials, video content, social media, paid advertising. We also do some outsourcing as well for our advertising. So all in all, there are many different ways in which our advertising teams are supporting our business and strategy for the year. And talking more about what I do, I'm a talent acquisition partner for early careers. I manage our internship program that goes through the summertime, as well as our MBA leadership development program. This program is for recent MBA grads. It's a 21-month rotational program. Each rotation lasts 3 to 5 months. You get exposure to all 7 different of our key business units. It's a great way to get your foot in the door at Experian, gain insight from top leadership, and really have a seat at the table in terms of making changes. So that's a little bit about our advertising and the MBA program.
Thank you, Madison. Tangela, can you give us an overview of L'Oreal's marketing structure and jobs?
Absolutely. So hello, my name is Tangela. I am one of our recruiters here at L'Oreal. I recruit for all of our marketing and digital internships. L'Oreal is the #1 beauty company in the world. We own over 36 brands that range from skincare, hair care, makeup, fragrance, nail polish. So everything you could imagine in the world of beauty, we probably have something for you. And in the world of marketing, I usually like to think of it in 4 categories. We have our global marketing and product development teams that create all our new launches, work with all our global markets to really bring amazing strategies to consumers. We have our US marketing teams, which are bringing those products, working with retailers, figuring out promotions and sales and how consumers get their hands on the products. Third, we have social, influencer, and PR, which is really great for our creative individuals who are really interested in the world of social media. And then the last core category is digital and analytics, which is like your e-commerce, your website, your paid media. And so there's tons of opportunities in all of those different directions in the world of marketing. Every brand has all of those types of teams. We have our summer internship program for juniors in college. We have a postgraduate program, which is our junior marketing associate program, which is a 12-month internship for individuals who have graduated. And then we also have our management trainee program, which is a 12-month program for individuals who've graduated as well. So lots of really cool opportunities at L'Oreal and tons of brands to really get to know.
Thank you so much for that, Tangela. It was a pleasure hearing more information about all the companies. I do want to go ahead and jump straight into the questions. The first question we have here is, can you describe the personal and professional qualities that lead success in these roles? Let's start this question off with Tangela.
Yes, so one of the things that we use to really identify talent at L'Oreal, we call it the 5 dimensions of potential. I like to think of these as vocabulary words to keep in your arsenal, but they are resilience, which is your ability to bounce back, to take constructive criticism and use that feedback to come back and be better. Second is ambition. So how are you thinking bigger, better, and thinking beyond? Third is learning agility, your ability to pick up on new skills and learn other things quickly. Fourth is empathy, your ability to work well with others. And the last one is judgment, which is your ability to make good decisions, taking data, taking your situation, and making strong recommendations. We're always looking for these 5 things in candidates, and these are the things that really make individuals stand out when you're applying to any of our different roles. And then I'd love to pass it over to Madison. What are the things that you're looking for at your job?
Thank you, Tangela. So specifically, maybe for the MBA Leadership Development Program, we obviously look for leadership qualities in the candidates. You know, it's wonderful to see if you're participating in like certain charity or an on-campus club, but what really makes you stand out is if you are in some type of leadership position in that group. And you know, I don't think that's only impressive for the MBA program. I think for other positions, that would be something that would make you stand out as well. And I'm going to pass it to Kalina.
So many great mentions. Yeah, completely agree with these. I was looking at this question from the sales lens, right? So a few of the things that came to mind is with our developmental programs, you have the opportunity to be with experts that have been in this industry for many years. So I think the quality of coachability, right, is really important. Being able to implement the feedback that you're given to come back stronger, which I think Tangela mentioned, it's such a great point. Next, I would say is grit. Specifically for sales, there's a lot of objection handling, right? There may be days that are really tough on the phones where you're getting so many no's that's getting you one more closer to that yes, right? So being able to come back, seeing the value in making those conversations and knowing that you are going to reach success. And the last thing is that intrinsic drive, right? There's nothing stronger than something that's coming from within you when it's personal and you want to reach success and have that motivation for yourself. And I'll pass it off to Jen to finish this up.
Wonderful. Thanks, Kalina. Yes. And I also, too, as all the panelists had mentioned, just great points of feedback and things to certain qualities to look for. I also was looking at this from an advertising, sales, marketing lens. And I know that there's no one size fits all degree, major, background for these roles specifically. And so knowing that and leaning into what other strengths you can bring to the table. So for example, if you have a double major or a minor in data analytics or anything that's data driven and you find a passion, a strength in that, really lean into that, highlight that on your resume. That is something that is somewhat niche in this market. And so not every single, advertising executive, advertising or salesperson will be strong in the data aspects. And it's also a very important quality to have. Similarly, if you have a minor, double major in another language, also important to highlight. You never know what other types of skills, opportunities, things that the employer is going to look for. So definitely knowing your strengths and leaning into those and highlighting them in your interviews and on your resume.
Thank you, Jennifer. That was great information. Since you are already speaking, I would like to stick to you for a second. Can you let us know what is the best and most effective way to break into a career in these disciplines?
Yes, happy to take this one on. So I really think, as I mentioned, there's not a one size fits all for these specific roles. And you'll find that a lot of different companies have different programs, different development programs, maybe a specific type of role that's available. And so my biggest piece of advice is keeping your options open. I will quickly share that this market can be extremely saturated with a lot of different candidate applications. And so you'll often find yourselves up against students that have some experience, maybe no experience, have a completely and wildly different background or major than you do. And so really just keeping your options open to different types of industries or companies, oftentimes locations as well. It does not have to be for your forever job, and you can absolutely take and learn some skills and some qualities from each and every job to then translate to your next job. And who knows, maybe it is something that you were passionate about and you would have never known. So my biggest piece of advice is just keeping your options open, especially within these roles. I'm going to turn it over to Tangela for her perspective.
Yes, definitely. I love what you told us, Jen. And I would say the best way to break into the industry is to network. Utilize your network, whether that's reaching out to people on LinkedIn, really utilizing your career services center at your school. Someone knows someone that can really be a great way to connect and get into the industry. So I would say definitely utilize your network for sure. I'll pass it over to Madison.
Thank you, Tangela. So I think a lot of us are in early careers. So, starting a summer internship. building your base of knowledge, breaking into the field, gaining connections like Tangela was saying, and understanding yourself and what you're wanting to pursue. You might not even like it after your first summer internship, or you'll love it. So, and that's like either way, that's okay. So, finding what you're passionate about and finding what works for you and seeing what you want to do in the future. And then I'm going to pass it to Kalina.
Awesome. Is it just me or do we have the dream team here today? So I'm going to have to build off of something Tangela said because I thought it was such a wonderful point, is leveraging those resources, right? So your career services or your specialized college, whether that's business or health sciences, has already done the hard work in building these partnerships with corporate sponsors. So they're coming on campus, they're visiting for career fairs, for classroom presentations, for info sessions. We know how busy our students are, but try and take advantage of all of these resources because there's so many relationships that can be made on your home base.
Super insightful information, everyone. Kalina, can you describe the typical interview process at your organization for these roles? Any key pieces of advice you have for these majors or candidates?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to talk a little bit more about our interview process here at Dell. So just to preface, Dell is a global industry leader in technology, so there are a lot of other programs, but I'll speak specifically to the Next Gen Sales Academy program, which is the one that I recruit and hire for. So we do start with a one-way video interview, which is pretty standard, right? We've seen those pre-recorded questions. So there's about 5 of them. Once our candidates create their submission, our team is pretty quick in reviewing those videos. And then afterwards, we decide if it makes sense to move forward into that next step, which is a conversation with a few of our leadership members, totaling in about 3 hours. And they're all centered on 3 pillars of our organization that are really important to us, which is character, capability, and drive. So afterwards, we do review those conversations and see if it makes sense mutually to move forward. And then at that point, we do usually extend the offer if that is our decision. Going back to the key pieces of advice, the first thing I want to mention is to take advantage of every offer touch point from your recruiter. And if they're not offered, ask. Right? So ask for that informational session to learn more about the program you're applying to. Ask for a preparation call for an interview if you're moving forward in the process. And unfortunately, if you do not get the job this go around, take them up on the offer to do some decline feedback, right? That'll really help you in your next interviews to see what you can improve. And then the next piece of advice that I want to give specifically for the preparation piece is sit down and really reflect on your experiences for those behavioral style questions. Right. So at that point, when someone asks, tell me about a time when you've had to make a difficult decision, you could say, that's a really great question. And it brings me back to a class project I did in college my sophomore year. So it doesn't have to be this long-winded story with a million details, but really give them some substance and storytelling to hold on to. And next, I'll go ahead and pass it off to Madison for this question.
Thanks, Kalina. Very insightful. So I'm going to talk more specifically about our internship program with early careers. We have 2 different cohorts that start in May and June. They're both 12 weeks long. And then for the interview process, we start interviewing in the fall time. We typically have 2 rounds. We actually don't do phone screens. We find that we're able to pass you straight to the hiring manager with the knowledge of your resume. So you speak with the hiring manager first, and then a member of the team. If a position is more technical, there will be an assessment at the beginning of the process. And after you have those interviews, 2 at the most, maybe 3, if a hiring manager does request this, then that's when we would send out the offer. And then my key advice is to go into your interview very authentic to yourself. As cheesy as it sounds, be yourself. At Experian, we really value bringing your whole self to work. And basically what that means is we want to know who the whole person is. We want to know what your capabilities are, what you're passionate about. And then we also want to know what makes you you, because everyone, you work with these people and you want to get along and just have closeness. So yeah, that's what I would have to say. And then going forward, I think I'm going to pass it over to Tangela.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. So at L'Oreal, we have 2 interview processes. Typically, you'll have a screening conversation with the recruiter. Then there are 3 interviews. You'll do 2 with the business. So it might be the manager of the marketing team and then their manager. And then the last interview will be with HR. And that's usually for any postgraduate opportunities. And then for our summer internship, this year we tried out a new format, which we called L'Oreality. And it was a 3-part interview process where you do a 10-minute brief presentation based on a presentation prompt that's sent to you 3 days before your interview. The second round, all of it happens in one day. The second round is a case study. It's a group case study, so we can see how you work with a group to solve a business case, which takes about an hour to do. And then based on your performance in those first 2 sections, you might move on to the third round, which is a one-on-one interview with a hiring manager. So we get to see you in 3 different unique settings in a way, and it's all virtual. And for the summer internship, we usually do our recruitment starting in the fall, and we try to wrap that up by December each year. So that's kind of that overview. In terms of advice, I would say the best thing is make sure that you're prepared. Do your research. It's always great to throw in a couple cool facts that you might have seen in your research, which really shows that you are truly interested in the company and you're curious and you're able to really make connections to things that the company really stands for. So values, commitment, our environmental, sustainability, all those things are great opportunities for you to draw connections between yourself and the company, which I think is super important. And I think closing it out, I'll pass it over to Jen.
Thank you, Tangela. This just goes to speak and it goes to show how important this piece of advice is, but she took my piece of advice, which is absolutely doing your research. So could not express that enough. So for visa, all of our non-technical roles, you will have an initial phone screen conversation with the recruiter. And the reason behind that is we truly just want to understand your interests, your passions, your focus, why visa and why that specific role. So even doing your research on the front end, once you apply to the role and preparing yourself for that first conversation is really important. After that, assuming all goes well during your initial phone screen with the recruiter, you would then move on to live interviews with our hiring managers and other team members within the team that you'd potentially be working in. So it truly depends on which group that you'd be aligned to. Some just do live interviews, and then some of our rotational programs, development programs, do case studies. And the reason behind that is we truly just want to see your ideas, your recommendations, and any ideas and insights that you might have that could be different, unique, and something that would be special for visa. So again, doing your research on the front end, I think I don't have to speak for everyone on this call, but we're all in vastly different industries and very different types of companies. And so it's truly important that if you're looking for a sales role, marketing role, advertising role, understanding how our companies really play in that space is really important. So doing your research cannot be said enough. The other piece of advice I was going to mention is leveraging your network. So, if you have by chance a live interview or have some technical questions during your interview, or you have to prepare a case study, don't be afraid to ask your friend, your colleagues, family members, etc., that might have experience in this space and in the specific industry that you're working in. Even if it's not necessarily sales or marketing related, but it is maybe perhaps technical related. Perfect example is at Visa. If they have any software engineering experience, don't be afraid to leverage your network and ask them questions and ideas and pick their brain, because you never know how they may help you in the case study or during the live interview with questions. So that is my piece of advice. I think we'll wrap up this question. I'll turn it back over to Chris.
Thank you so much, ladies, for all of that insightful advice and answering all those questions. But before we wrap up, I would like to ask a fun question. So can anyone share any stories of mistakes you've made or seen people make, or you've made yourself while entering the industry, or share any experiences you've gone through that were learning experiences for you, or any popular things you would advise someone not to do?
Oh, I have one I'd love to share. So I would say a mistake, and it might not necessarily be a mistake, but when people come to the interview and they say that they are open to opportunities, it really helps me as a recruiter to know what is it that you're interested in? Where do you see yourself in the future? What do you like? As I said before, at L'Oreal for marketing, we have 4 categories that I like to think of it as, and something draws you, and it just makes it easier for us to place you or get you connected with the hiring manager if you at least pick 1 or 2 that you're most interested in. You can totally be open to all opportunities. We'll place you where there's an opportunity, but if you're interested in social, or you're interested in being creative, or is it being analytical, or is there a specific brand that you're interested in, all those things are really helpful, and they kind of give us clues and kind of nuggets for us to follow to place you in the right role or get you to interview or meet the right people. So don't say that you're open to any opportunities, because it's better to just hone in and focus on what it might be. So that's what helps me as a recruiter.
I'm happy to share a personal mistake that I made when entering the workforce. Thank you, Tangela, for explaining that too. When I graduated college 10 years ago, I have to say I still was under the impression of my parents. Like their direction meant a lot to me. So my dad said, you would be great at sales, and he really pressured me to do that. So I got sales jobs, and it just didn't feel right for me. It wasn't something that I was thriving in. And eventually I found recruiting, which I love. But just staying true to yourself, I think, even right when you're graduating, is really important, because I am proud and happy with the experience, and it brought me to where I am now. But staying true to yourself and knowing what makes you happy is really important as well, and you'll thrive obviously in that situation better.
That's a really good point, Madison. I appreciate you sharing that. I think one thing that comes to mind is I know when you're going through the interviewing process, it's a lot of investment, right? Emotion and preparation. And I know that sometimes if you're not moved forward in the process, it can be a really difficult rejection to handle. But my one piece of advice is never let those emotions cause you to burn a bridge, especially if you are seeking other roles in the same industry. People stay connected. People move into different areas of the business. So I recommend going into that experience, thanking them for their time, as you did spend time with people helping you prepare for the process, and then trying to learn more from the experience rather than giving them your peace of mind.
Perfect. Thanks, Lena. Yes, I absolutely agree with that. And I think I have 2 pieces of advice. One that's very tactical and very easy. I think that you can immediately implement today. Being responsive to the recruiter, to the hiring manager, to the scheduler. You never know who may be reaching out and from what system. So please review your junk email, your spam folders, etc., because oftentimes emails will get directed in there. And so if it takes, if you respond 2 days later, you might have already moved forward with other candidates to schedule and place interviews. And so, I just share that. Please be responsive to your recruiters, because oftentimes, I think Tangela mentioned earlier too, the recruitment process and interview process is very, very short. And so would hate for you guys to miss out on just a quick, easy thing to do in responding to emails. The second thing I have is remaining humble. So this kind of goes back to Kalina and her advice as well. Oftentimes I will talk to students and candidates from a variety of backgrounds, and some that may know some of our employees here at Visa, some that we meet at career fairs or other campus events, or on any other channel, or maybe it's a conference as well. Remaining humble in each of those conversations is really important, and knowing that there are several candidates out there just like you, and knowing that just because you may go to a university that is, from your perception, more prestigious, or have a background that's more, have a background that from your perspective that might be more technical or more difficult, doesn't mean that you're going to be the most qualified person for the job. So remaining that humbleness, I think, is huge. And oftentimes when I meet students that are open to opportunities or having a conversation, And really engaging in those types of questions is really important, and one that kind of makes themselves stand out, definitely.
Thank you so much. And thank you all panelists for that in-depth and valuable view into the business, marketing, advertising, and sales structures within your organization. And thank you all for joining us. Please feel free to reach out with any additional questions and take advantage of the many resources available for you from WayUp and Yellow. We are excited for your journey.